Live Barcode Podcast audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign, Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 3.
Hell on Earth.
So for people at home, this is The Book of Blood, 2009 movie, adaptation of the Book of Blood short story, and On Jerusalem Street. So it's combining the two Book of Blood bookend stories together.
That's right.
This is our first good horror movie commentary.
Well, kind of. We did. We also did.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's right. The
Yattering and Jack and Quicksilver Highway, those aren't too bad either.
They're not.
Yeah, like I was saying just before we started recording, this movie I think was released first in Germany at the Hamburg Fantasy Film Fest nights in March 7, 2009. And I think it was premiered in the U.S. on September 22nd of 2009. Okay. And it says here DVD premiere. So I guess it in America didn't really get much of a theatrical release.
So we're pausing right before it says essential entertainment. So that's where everybody should line up their movie here. Yeah. And then, Rob, do you want to do the countdown?
Yeah, sure. Okay. 1, 2, 3, play.
Here we go.
All right.
Rob, you did a retro review for this movie in September of last year. You gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I actually printed out my review for this commentary.
All right.
Excellent.
I thought the big thing about this movie that they had to get right was the house, and I thought they did a great job on getting the house.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right location.
I never felt like, this doesn't feel the same as the story. It seemed right.
Yeah.
I also appreciate that they lift lines directly from the short story. I mean, I think that was a big part of the success of Candyman was doing that also.
Yeah.
I kind of wish this opening monologue, I wish Clyde would have read this opening monologue. I think it would have been cool for him to do that.
Oh, yeah, with his voice.
Yeah, exactly.
They have signposts, these highways.
Yeah.
It'd be something like that.
Yeah.
So this movie is directed by John Harrison.
And written by him also.
Oh, there you go.
I think it's always kind of it's not a guaranteed success, but I think it always helps when you have the writer and is also the director.
Sure. That way he knows what he's adapting and how he's adapting it.
Yeah. That's pretty gross.
Yeah, I like these close-ups of the eggs. And...
and you know that's his blood from his face dripping in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a little gross, this opening.
Because on Dexter, they did a shot just like that, but he would be dripping Tabasco sauce into his egg.
Yeah. I used to love Dexter. Yeah, I saw like first 2 or 3 seasons of it. Pretty good stuff.
Me want to go eat at Denny's.
Yeah. It's
also
the
weirdest looking bacon I've ever seen.
That they filmed this in Scotland, and from what I saw in the special feature behind the scenes, it looked like it was an opportunity they had to film in Scotland, and it worked out financially to do that.
Yep, this was filmed in several locations. It was filmed in Edinburgh, Scotland. It was also filmed in Glasgow, Strathclyde, Scotland. And then they shot a lot of it also in the Artem Digital Studios in London and the Black Island Studios in London.
Oh.
Yeah. Artem Digital Studios was the company that made the special effects for this. And when it shows shots of the city, you'll be able to recognize a few landmarks on that picture. Oh, and here we have Clive Russell. He's been in Game of Thrones for 4 or 5 episodes. He plays Brynden Blackfish Tully.
Oh, and he's Wybird.
Yeah, and he's Wyvern in this movie, yeah.
So, I haven't seen the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones.
No spoilers.
Well, you can't go on Facebook without spoilers.
Oh, that's
man,
right.
my phone is ringing. We'll just have to ignore it.
I love how when he looks at the guy, he's talking to this person about the skin, and he looks at the guy peeling off the skin off, is it chicken or something?
It looks like it.
Was it
maybe it's bacon? Oh, wait, no, I know what you're talking about. The other guy, the old guy who was eating. Yeah, maybe he's eating an omelet or something.
I didn't notice that.
So this is a funny moment here when he goes over to pay, and then he says, keep the change. But he pays with like 4 little coins.
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with like UK money. So.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, Mr. Moneybags.
I was looking up. I was curious about how they did the suit on for Simon McNeil for this movie, and it said that Jonas Armstrong had to have his entire body waxed and cast so that the makeup and product department could craft his character's skin to fit and match his torsos perfectly. So that sounded like a pretty,
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I found the Pine and Oak diner on the internet. It's near Kincardine on Forth Bridge, Fife, Great Britain.
All right.
I'll add the link to it on the show notes. It is a real place, but I think it's been closed for a while. This guy reminds me a little bit of a younger Brian Cox.
Yeah, he does. He has that kind of. I could see that definitely.
Mm-hmm.
The way he talks in his voice.
I like the part where here Simon says he just wants to go far away. At first I thought he was like cursed, like to walk the earth like the wandering Jew or something. Mm-hmm. Except instead of mocking Jesus, he mocked the dead. But he's just trying to get away from another person that we're going to find out pretty soon.
Yeah, it's really interesting that they opened with this part.
Yeah.
And then they want to go back and explain, okay, this is how we got to this point.
I like that they made bookend stories for the bookend stories of the Books of Blood.
Yeah,
right?
Because that's pretty cool.
They have something that happens before the Book of Blood story, and they have something that happens after the Book of Blood story.
Oh, with his experience of his childhood, his brother dying in the car accident.
Mm-hmm. All that backstory that they came up with for the characters.
Yeah, him and for
Florescu.
Yeah, Mary.
So this is none of this is in the actual stories that Clive Barker wrote, except maybe this part, I guess.
This is on Jerusalem Street.
Yeah,
but it's not. I mean, it's
not the diner part.
Right. No. Yeah, not the diner part, and
it's in a hotel room, and also in a. It's not this like cabin place.
Yeah.
In Jerusalem, so it's like a.
And I guess there's. We'll come back to this scene at the end of the movie again, but. So I guess I've got some comments for that I want to. We'll just save.
I like the part where this guy starts talking about the collector that he works for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a collector. I was in the board of a collectors association in Portugal. You wouldn't believe the things people collect. But not pickled tongues or anything. But sometimes people will collect the most weird things you can imagine, like paper sugar bags, from different coffee shops with different logos on them, or promotional pens that they get from a hotel or some other place.
Oh, wow.
I knew a guy who collected rusty keys, like old keys.
Oh, wow.
He just collected old keys from, like, old locks. And there's people who would collect anything, really. It's kind of like something that people do, and it's hard to explain why they do it.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. He seems pretty resigned to his fate.
Yeah. Well, at the end, in the postscript on Jerusalem Street, he's kind of gone crazy. He doesn't even see himself as like Simon McNeil anymore. He's just
right. he almost calls himself in the third person, like the dead have occupied his body and he's just nothing but an empty husk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that his face was being written on? He was
Yeah.
still bleeding? Yeah, that was cool.
There's a scene, I think, later on where you can see the writing happening on his chest and his face at the same time, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if it's CGI or practical. It seems like practical, but it's hard to know for sure.
Yeah. I like the line where Wyburn just told him, "You're a book of blood. Read it to me."
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good expansion there.
Here's the deal.
That is pretty threatening. Do you remember in the original story if there was this much interaction between Wyburn and Simon McNeil?
I don't think so.
There's just a dialogue scene how he, starts to talk to Simon McNeil.
Right.
And Simon McNeil kind of just guesses, like, so how much is it worth? He's asking him, he's like,
yeah.
What is worth? My skin. You're taking it, aren't you? And
right. He's very matter of fact about it.
Yeah.
I also discovered where this house is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's called... Oh, man, where did I find that? I'll add that to the show notes.
And it just has a great personality to it when you first see it.
Mm-hmm. This looks like it's taken out of a Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah, that's Cameron movie.
Danny, open the door. Open the door now.
Can you, oh, there you go. Can you just lower the volume a little bit? There.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think I'm a little behind you guys because I set the controller down and I accidentally rewound. So she's just scratching her fingernails on the floor right now.
Oh, the mom is saying open the door and she's screaming.
Okay.
I'm at 10:29. Oh, God.
Oh, okay. I'm at 10:20 right now.
Face rip. You just missed it.
Yeah.
And if you look closely here, she's still moving her jaw. She's
Oh.
Yeah, that's really...
It reminds me
really
of Hellraiser in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Skinless face.
Amazing effects by Artem Limited. I'll add the link to their portfolio where they show more pictures from the Book of Blood to the show notes. Okay, this scene here where Maria Florescu is talking to her class reminds me a little bit of Candyman.
I was thinking the same thing today.
When they're talking about the urban
Trevor's
legends.
talking about
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Trevor, that's it.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. They're like, hey, our teacher's hot.
Yeah.
That guy right there,
So I'm at 11:08 right now. What are you guys at?
11:32.
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of scan forward a little bit.
Here's one of our main characters, Simon McNeil. So, Simon McNeil is played by Jonas Armstrong, I think.
Yeah. He's gone on to do a lot of good stuff.
I'm at 11:46.
Okay, 12:02.
Aw.
Back to the Tollington place. In the story, this was supposed to be Tollington Place 65.
Yeah.
It's Tollington Place because it used to be owned by Tollington, who was a guy who lived there.
He was played by Doug Bradley in this movie.
So that's pretty impressive place. One of the girls that was talking to Simon McNeil just a few seconds ago when he walks into class, she kind of reminded me of the port wine birthmark girl from Dredd.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked it up, but it wasn't the same actress, but she's very similar to her. Okay.
when I first saw that guy that plays Russell, I thought that was Gary T. Tunnicliffe. See, there's Doug Bradley on the paper there.
Are you talking about her assistant?
Yeah, his name's Russell?
Reg.
I think it's weird that she refers to Tollington as that guy. It just seems out of place.
Yeah. So
Reg looked like Gary
Tunnicliffe? Yeah, a little bit. So they're explaining how Tollington died here. And it's funny because they're going to have a newspaper article pretty soon. And you can read the article that's printed on the cover of that newspaper, that old clipping they have. And there's more details about his story. Like, for example, it says that you can read on the newspaper that he was buried in the cemetery in Stockbridge, Edinburgh. The service would be done with a minister of the spiritual church. He had no known relatives in Scotland, and lawyers were checking for any connections to anyone. He did not leave a will, but had a vast fortune. And he also had a house in Ireland and property in the USA and France, with a friend saying that he had relatives in Germany. So that's all I could make out of the news clipping, but I'm sure if someone is watching it on the Blu-ray, you probably can tell more detail.
That's pretty cool that they gave him a little backstory there. Because it's really not shown in the movie too much.
Mm-hmm.
This room reminds me of the Hellraiser, the loft.
Yeah, the damp room.
Yeah.
I know. This house, this movie takes place inside a house, and at some point you have this feeling of a flashback to Hellraiser a little bit. Even the director admitted that people would be able to tell that connection, I guess. I think the photography and the lighting in this movie is very good.
I do too. I really like the score as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On my Blu-ray, the quality of it is very, very, very crisp. If anybody doesn't have the Blu-ray, I highly recommend it for picture quality and the audio, and it's got really good. It's really good in those areas.
So John Harrison also wrote and directed the Sci-Fi Channel Dune miniseries. And,
the Children of Dune, right?
Yeah, well, and the first one before that too, the one that's just Dune.
Okay.
Yeah, not the David Lynch, but the Sci-Fi Channel one.
Sure.
And he wrote the Disney adaptation for Abarat, which never got filmed.
Oh, okay.
He also directed the Tales from the Dark Side movie.
Okay, that's supposed to be Simon McNeil as a kid.
Yeah. That's kind of a cool morph that they did there.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Very good, yeah.
That was good casting, too.
Okay, so the original story mentioned Essex University's parapsychology unit. That's what Clive Barker wrote that Mary Floresco belonged to. This doesn't seem to exist. I looked it up, but this does. The Kestler Parapsychology Unit, established in 1985, based in the psychology department at the University of Edinburgh, teaching and researching parapsychology. So I'll add the link to this to the show notes.
There'll be a lot of cool show notes on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wondered what it's like working there, if it's going to be like working with the Ghostbusters. And here, Mary Floresco says, in this business, we have to start from a place of faith. And I was like, I want to know what university she's working for.
Yeah, that seems like sort of a shortcut to the story.
That's not a scientific approach at all. You have to base it on facts. Like at one point, this guy Reg says, he has a PhD, and I'm like, well, in what?
Yeah,
I guess parapsychology.
Yeah.
Oh, I get a really big Exorcist vibe from this scene here.
Oh, yeah.
He's walking. Yeah.
Definitely. The lighting is so cool in this scene.
It's really green. It's really green, like
green,
like The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
It had a nice gritty feel to it.
I miss the college life, going to pubs, drinking beer after class.
I never got to do that. Was it good?
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I just played video games.
Yeah.
I wrote stories.
Well, and I had to read a lot. Actually, I had 4 jobs in college, too.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a tutor, and I worked on websites for their extended learning program, and I worked in an English computer lab.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, and also I was at there was a place where you would give out like construction paper for the dorm. What do you call those people that are in charge of the floors?
The
RAs.
RAs?
Yeah, resident advisors. So they would come to me and I would say, okay, here's where the paper is, and the copier's over there and stuff like that.
And you also made kung fu movies.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that was mostly a lot of that was in high school.
Okay.
Some of it was in college.
Those were great.
1990 through 96, I guess we did those.
What do you think about the backstory that they give to all the characters in this movie?
I like them. In my review, I talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how
I think they have to do that.
more complexity into the story, and in some ways made it more engrossing.
Because there's interior monologue in the short stories that you can't have, so you gotta flesh out these characters some other way.
Right.
I think probably Clive helped with that a lot. Probably with the writer. I'm sure he had a hand in that.
I just thought that, and especially just for Simon McNeil, I think giving these characters a little too much of a backstory, it starts eroding the idea that he was a fraud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I did have a problem with that. I even put that in my notes that, his backstory of being psychic is so compelling, and then to turn around and make him a fraud, it's a little bit of a 180.
Yeah, I also wrote on my notes that anyone seeing all this guy does, his life and what he says, may think he actually had some powers. In the original story, it seemed like he was more of a fraud than in this movie. But I guess they expound on that a little bit further in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he could have warned
I guess they
him.
wanted to make him a little bit more sympathetic, because in the story, he's kind of, I guess, an ass.
Yeah. Well, and he could have warned her about this tire.
There's also, for our listeners who are listening to this, there is also a motion comic from Madefire of the Book of Blood, where the character Simon McNeil, he's kind of like a magician kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is completely not like the book at all.
No.
He's more like an artist or a performer or something.
Yeah, they had talked about bringing those back again, but we still haven't heard anything in a long time.
I don't know what happened to that. I was really,
Yeah.
I got really excited about him because.
Yeah. Well, and I think they were right in the middle of Midnight Meat Train like 2 years ago when Jose and I visited over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we don't know how well that did. And also we don't know how long it took to make the first one. So
Yeah.
sometimes that has a bearing on...
Maybe they're wanting to do something really cool with it and just want to take their time and release something really worthwhile. I mean...
Yeah.
I think Reg is really sad.
Yeah, Reg is... there's not much to him, really.
He's really ineffectual.
At one point she even tells him, maybe I can hire someone else to carry my wires for me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He never apologizes either. It's just like, yep, you're a loser. And there's one scene where he's supposed to bash open the door with his shoulder, and he just kind of does this half-hearted, like, and he doesn't get the door open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh, we got a teacher's pet.
Yeah.
Hey, drink more beer. So, yeah, she's writing a book about the paranormal. Apparently, it's not the first book that she wrote, because you'll see a scene where someone asks her to sign one of her books.
Yeah. And she says, half my fans think what I write is fiction.
Right.
Well, there's part of this movie where she questions her own beliefs about the whole thing. So
Yeah.
This movie is going to have some slow-moving parts where there's not going to be a lot to talk about from the movie, but I guess we'll try to fit in some trivia and information about what Clive Barker had to say about it.
So we've got, like, basically 3 characters in this opening part, and 2 out of the 3 are psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they had to, again, they gave her backstory where she has to have some sort of traumatic event in her life that defines her career choice.
Yeah.
I don't think that was necessary, but sure, why not?
Yeah, it is a little bit...
I mean, in the original story, there's no story about the fountain and the fountain that poured blood or anything like that.
Right.
But it kind of sets things for, like, the thing about this movie that I thought is that all the pieces fit very nicely together. The story comes together at the end. There's no loose ends for the most part. And it's just everything that's set up has a payoff, which is effective. You know? But sometimes I feel like some moments it's like the movie director is like holding our hand. It's like, okay, she, It's
a little bit, too neatly done.
Yeah.
I appreciate mystery in movies too, like Hellraiser. That was that there were more questions there than answers.
Oh, we start introducing some sexual tension here.
Yeah.
Gonna have some sexual tension in a Clive Barker story.
Oh, sure. Good point. So let me go here and check out what we got from Revelations about this movie.
Yeah. While JoJo's doing that, what did y'all think of the acting of the actors?
Oh, it's good. I mean, I think I like especially Mary Florescu, and I think that Simon's the character who plays Simon also does a good job. He's kind of quiet and brooding, and I guess the guy playing Reg is okay, but I don't know. I mean, I think
he just doesn't have much to do.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Sophie Ward, who plays Marie Florescu, she was Princess Mombi in Return to Oz, which is one of my favorite movies. She was that princess that had like a room full of heads that she could just put on and off according to how she felt like.
Return to Oz, really that's the more recent one, right?
Yeah, it's the one with the what's the name of the little girl in that movie? She was in The Craft.
Faruka Balk.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Faruka Balk.
Yeah, Faruka Balk. That's something like that.
One of my favorite movies right there. And Sophie Ward was Princess Mombi.
I've never seen Return to Oz.
It's the one where I had the... What's his name?
James Franco?
No. You're talking about... what it was. I know what you're talking about. No, it's not that one.
Oh, okay.
No, Ryan, you're talking about The Wizard of Oz.
Or I think it's just called Oz. Right? It's just called Oz?
I think so. I saw that in the theater. It's pretty cool, too. No, I'm talking about Return to Oz is a movie from the 90s?
I think.
Oh, okay.
Or earlier, right? Yeah. 1985, that's right.
I read that
there were these really creepy characters with wheels.
Yeah, those guys were. I was going to name the...
Whoa. I'll have to see that.
Yeah.
So does Mary Florescu doesn't have a bed? She's like Fox Mulder. She just sleeps on the couch. It's like, you kids again.
Damn kids, get off my lawn.
Yeah, I've had it with you and your grubby clothes and your dead faces.
Seems like something.
Holy moly!
Yeah, that lightning was really loud, or thunder, I guess.
So yeah, this is like her traumatic experience that she's going to bring into the story. Is that when she was a little girl, she would see these spirits of kids and a fountain that splashed blood.
Actually, that lightning you heard is actually lightning from outside my house. So.
Oh.
It was
really?
Weird. The lightning from the movie. timed with the lightning from outside my house.
What, seriously?
That's a big coincidence.
Yeah, that's why it sounded so loud.
Talk about creepy.
Wow.
Yeah, that is.
So here comes Simon Bamford as Derek, the moving man.
Yeah.
I always think it's funny that Hellraiser alumni always play movers.
Yeah, Simon looks so young, too.
That's right. And then there's that anecdote about Doug Bradley and Oliver Parker. Oliver Parker, right? Yeah. Doug Bradley and Oliver Parker argued a little bit about who was going to play Pinhead, who was going to play Moving Man number 2. Oliver Parker could have been Pinhead. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, and when we talked to Simon in one of our interviews, he had said that he was so nervous about this movie. It's kind of ironic that he was actually throwing up all the time backstage.
Yeah.
And then this other guy throws up, just for the, as part of the plot of the movie.
Yeah, he was just
really?
playing a prank.
I didn't know he was. I never knew he was that nervous. I wasn't.
He hadn't been in a movie in a long time at that point.
Probably since Nightbreed, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he's back in acting now, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But
Oh yeah. What a jerk!
I know.
I'm like, do your job, dude.
Yeah, and he was actually kind of mad that Simon, saw through his thing.
Oh, they're setting up the ghost hunting thing. You guys ever watched any of those ghost hunter shows?
No. Well, I think maybe one time, and there were commercial breaks like every 5 minutes, and I just don't watch cable TV anymore.
It's just nothing ever happens in those things. It's just some guy
they built
looking at the camera saying, "Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that?"
Yeah, I know.
They spend the whole time building up right before the commercial break, and then after the commercial break, the thing that they mentioned didn't happen, or it wasn't as big of a deal as they made it seem.
Yeah. Well, they started applying that same ghost hunter thing to hunting Bigfoot. So now it's guys in the middle of the woods saying, "Oh, did you hear that? I heard a branch break. Oh, what was that noise?" It's you're in the middle of the woods. There's plenty of things that make noise.
That sounds like a terrible idea for a show, because going in that you're never going to see Bigfoot.
No.
Right.
Unless they finally dress up some guy as Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the haunted house feeling from this movie just keeps taking me back to Ludovico Street.
Yeah.
I would love to see a film about that. What you just brought up, Jose, about Harry DeMore and that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Here's a funny thing. When I was looking at IMDb, and it's kind of appropriate to the moment of the movie, one of the keywords in that movie is male pubic hair.
Oh, they brought that as a keyword.
Yeah. Someone has that here in the keywords.
Oh, wow.
Plot keywords: pubic hair, male frontal nudity, intersection, sexual dream.
Yeah, there is a really long extended sexual dream in this.
This is creepy, the way that he says that there's not a fly or a spider or an ant anywhere in the house.
Except that in real life, you'd really, I can't see a fly or a spider or an ant anywhere near me right now in my house.
Yeah, but this is supposed to be like an abandoned place, right? Or if not abandoned, then at least
true.
Closed.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be spider webs and stuff, I guess.
Oh yeah, if you close somewhere for a few months and go back there, you're bound to see some spider webs.
That's true.
So
that's her. That she set up that bedroom in there.
Apparently,
that's pretty fancy. Was everybody else gets a cot, and she has this fancy queen size bed.
Yeah, Simon McNeil has an IKEA. It looks like a box with a mattress in it.
Yeah.
I like the lighting in this scene.
I wonder how long she was expecting to be there.
Yeah,
I think it was a lot longer in the story than it is in this movie.
Well, right now this is a dream sequence, so it's hard to know if that's really her bed or not.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, his bed looks a lot fancier now too.
Yeah, it doesn't look that bad.
So this is going to be one of those sexual tension moments.
Yeah.
You know, she was 45 when she did this movie.
She doesn't look it.
She looks pretty good.
Yeah. She has a very interesting face.
Mm-hmm. I like her hair in this.
Yeah, me too. It's just,
The way she has her hair here. I don't think she's a normal, regular brunette. So.
Why do you think her hair is all gray in the movie later on?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think it's because a lot of time has passed, because her face kind of looks the same and Simon McNeil doesn't look that old.
Yeah.
But sometimes in horror stories, it's not uncommon for someone to go through such a traumatic event that they say, oh, and his hair turned white.
But usually it's like a shock of their hair, like in Nightmare on Elm Street or Evil Dead.
Yeah.
It's not like their whole
hair.
head.
Yeah, well, sometimes it is.
I got the impression maybe it was from writing all these stories.
Yeah, or having to see the dead all the time.
Yeah.
Being in the same room with them.
He doesn't waste any time, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, as any good horror movie, it's going to have sex scene and then something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's rare for horror movies to have really good sex scenes because they're always interrupted by something horrible.
Yeah.
Either like, you know, take a look at Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, that one's even worse. So, this project was part of the Midnight Picture Show films. Like you said, it was adapted by John Harrison from the two stories that bookend the Books of Blood.
Mm-hmm.
It says here from Revelations that the Scottish shoot progressed well through December 2007 into the new year. Joe Daly was also a producer of this movie, and following exposure at the 2008 European film market and the successful completion of the effects shot in London, the film was completed, and we enjoyed seeing a full print in August 2008, shortly after a teaser of the first 10 minutes was shown at Fright Fest in London.
Well, I wonder what makes them decide with these things when they can go to when they can be theatrical release and when not. I mean, maybe this is Lionsgate and that's what the problem is. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Because Lionsgate screwed over Midnight Meat Train, and maybe it was the same thing with this one too.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll also be doing Midnight Meat Train.
Yes.
That's our last commentary we're doing from the...
Yeah, Clive had this to say about John Harrison's work. He said, John did a superb piece of work with the expansion and reinvention of the story because it's really very simple. He filled it out, gave it meat, and deepened the characters. My understanding is that we're looking at shooting in Glasgow, which is wonderful. It's great that we should be going back to Britain, that the house where the dead walk, where the highways of the dead converge, should be situated in one of the bleaker cities. It's perfect. I don't know if people from Glasgow would be happy that Clive was saying their city is bleak. But, yeah, it seems like this was shot in the fall going into Christmas because it's always raining and looks pretty cold. Nice statue here.
Yeah.
One of those statues and shots.
And that statue over there in the stairway is actually a replica of Michelangelo's The Slave.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
I just figured that was something that I recognized. And they also said there was a very relaxed atmosphere on set. One of the reasons why I like John so much, not just as a director, but as a human being, that's his style. He's very low-key. He's not a dramatic fellow. He just gets on with it. Once in a while, you'll catch a little bit of tension in his voice because he's unhappy, but it's very seldom. Jonas Armstrong's performance was extremely brave. He dropped trowel with no problem. Yeah, he does that a lot. Very believable and very sexy without trying too hard, None of that phony stuff you get in Hollywood. So there you go. I thought there was going to be more of a face-off here between them, but
yeah, he never says what's on his mind. At least not really strongly, I guess. I'll get someone else to carry my cables.
Yeah, it's kind of I took that as like a.
It's a real slap in the face.
Manhood.
Oh, and look, chains.
Yeah, and they're not her cables, right? This is all like his equipment.
Yeah.
Do you see that shot of chains?
Yeah, totally.
Hellraiser.
Yeah.
All right, let's hunt this poltergeist.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mix between Hellraiser and Poltergeist, this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and this scene, there's a really great subdued soundtrack by Guy Farley. I love the ambient sounds that he used here. There's great ADR and sound design in this scene.
Yeah, I like the sound of the soundtrack too. I actually bought it when we started the podcast.
Oh, by the way, that soundtrack was published by La La Land Records, and it's still available for like $4.95, and it's limited to 1,500 units.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can still get it.
I didn't buy it on CD. I just got it on iTunes, I think.
Yeah, I never bought anything from iTunes because I don't really use it that much.
Mm-hmm.
But what I heard was that iTunes offers you 256 kilobytes per second MP3s or M4Vs or something.
Oh, yeah. M4A, yeah.
Yeah, M4A, right.
Some people can tell the difference.
Yeah, usually it's hard to tell the difference between that and higher, I guess. Unless it's like 128, that's really terrible.
Mm.
Or 64, like some podcasts.
I like this shot right here. Looking down the little short corridor.
Hey, our podcast is 64.
That's right, yeah. I love the way that he's gonna point his light to the portrait of Tollington.
Yeah, it's interesting the way it looks like the real face standing there, and then it's a picture.
Yeah. I gotta say, when I saw this movie the first time, I was really on the edge of my seat in this part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know that this guy is not important to the story, and he could die at any moment.
Exactly. Also, I had read the story like you guys had, so.
Right.
It really wasn't that important in the story either.
I always wondered, why do ghost hunters use equipment to try to capture like ghost voices or film a ghost? Because if people can't see them, why would an electronic device be able to capture anything like that?
I don't know.
There's supposedly this, I don't know, I mean, I don't personally believe it, but electronic devices are able to sense things, but you're right, I've never seen
like a distortion of the electrical field or something like that.
Like that, what's happening right here or something.
Yeah.
It's supposed to...
So I think there's a little bit of cheating going on in here because the door is locked, and then there's too short of a time between when the door gets unlocked and Simon's like thrown across the room, and for what we know that this is all fraudulent stuff happening right now. So Simon's doing it all himself.
Yeah, you're right. That guy really couldn't open that door.
Yeah, it was really weak.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't even try.
I mean, he's a pretty heavy guy, too. I mean,
yeah.
I guess if you want to nitpick about something here, I would say that he could have just like tumbled around the bed and dismantled it. But
well, then he ran over and unlocked the door, and then ran over and laid down on the floor there.
Right.
The door was locked a second ago.
Yeah, my point is, how could he even lock the door in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Was there a key on the door? Was that a good idea to have a key on the door if they're going to investigate this? I don't know. Okay, obviously this part is completely fake. If you've seen the movie before, of course, you'll know that this part is just a quick fakey thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he was doing in the story.
In the story, he actually would write as if the dead were talking through him, and he would bring back people like Janis Joplin and Jim Hendrix.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been a total giveaway. It's like the people who claim they remember their past lives, and they're like, oh, I used to be Queen Mary of the Scots, or I used to be like a pharaoh. Yeah. And it's like, no one ever says, I was a dishwasher in like London in the 1500s. They always have to pick someone like important.
And in the short story, he didn't do all this fancy theatrical stuff. He had a little piece of lead that was stuck in the skin in his mouth, right?
Yeah.
So he just scratched words into the wall. But there was no, like, fire.
He stumbled around the room and he, like, threw things around.
Yeah.
That was cool, the message that was written there. I serve hell, and in its turn, hell serves me.
Yeah.
A little cheesy, but,
Yeah.
that's not a real, like, dead person talking there. Rich is the voice of reason. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to get out of here.
Yeah. He's also either eating or drinking during this whole movie. He's always
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Hold this cup for 9 hours straight.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of information about John Harrison, how he got this job. He says, we had become friends with Clive Barker through the Abarat process, and Clive liked my Dune miniseries a whole lot. So we started talking about why did I do one of these? I think he means why don't I do one of these? So I have taken the first and the last short stories of the Books of Blood collection, and I've turned them into one movie called Clive Barker's Books of Blood. The screenplay is finished. We're putting the financing together, and I'm hopeful that we'll be in production after I finish George's movie. Clive would be one of the producers, of course. He has been reading every step of the way the drafts of the script that I co-wrote with another young writer named Darren Silverman. He's very excited about it, and he will be involved creatively. Even though I will be directing, he'll be the to-go guy. So it was an interview he gave while he was working on George Romero's Diary of the Dead.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I wonder if, because there was a big controversy there with Midnight Meat Train not getting a theatrical release because Lionsgate screwed them over. So I wonder if but we didn't hear about anything like that with this one. I mean, and Dredd had already come out, and Dredd was direct to video, but it wasn't that great. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what I wonder.
Maybe
what
the
happened.
people at Lionsgate felt this was a superior movie to Midnight Meat Train. I don't know.
Well, this one's not theatrical either.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it was released in Portugal. I have the Portuguese DVD, so if they really didn't care about it, it would have just come out like in the U.S. or a few countries. But
yeah.
For it to be released in Portugal is kind of a big deal for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of movies never made it, like, Hellraiser 3 never made it to Portugal in the DVD market.
I think there are some Hellraiser sequels that didn't even make it to the UK.
Right, yeah.
It's funny, she just looks at him like he's nuts when he's trying to scrape that stuff off and figure out what it is. Like, yeah, that's what they should be doing.
Right.
Yeah, she should have no problem with that at all. You're the only forensics man I know.
Yeah. And this part here is really being a creepo.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, dinner with me. It's like, is your wife going to cook? Boing.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I forgot that I'm married.
So here's a little bit of John Harrison talking about the comparison to Hellraiser. He says, Book of Blood has been compared to Hellraiser. I'm not exactly sure why. It's a very different story. I happen to love Hellraiser, so it's not deliberate on my part to try and mimic that movie. I'd say, if anything, what I was really trying to do was mimic the kinds of movies that I grew up on that were more based on suspense and tension and atmospherics than in-your-face horror movies, like the Val Newton movies or Robert Wise's The Haunting.
Well, you've got three people trapped, in this small house location, and all and all the supernatural stuff's happening in the attic. I mean, it's not too big of a stretch.
No, it's not. I mean, I came up with that note in my notes before I read this interview, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, and some of that is Clive Barker. It's not really necessarily John Harrison.
So they're checking him out to see if he has any foreign objects with himself. But they let him take the aspirin, which will be a mistake, as we'll see further in the movie. Back in April of 2009, John Harrison talked about the distribution for this movie, said, there can't be a worse time economically to open an independent horror film in the U.S. than now. So we will instead do a major cable launch on Sci-Fi around September.
Oh.
We hope to get the movie on a few big screens before then, but it's tough.
I don't think it ever came on Sci-Fi, though.
No.
I don't remember seeing it.
I don't think it did.
It's not, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit too much for Sci-Fi Channel.
They would have edited it.
Yeah.
It would have been a cut version of it.
Yeah, right.
You tell, maybe we should do an anal cavity or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was kind of a dumb joke because it's like, what did he think was going to happen when he suggested that?
Right.
Of course, they're going to tell him he has to do it.
And here is Doug Bradley talking about his appearance in this movie. He said, "It's set in the present day, but I play a character called Tollington, who has been dead for pretty much a century. He was a cultist who occupied the house in Tollington Place, mentioned in Clive's original story. It's a brief but memorable appearance, and I'm looking forward to it. I was up there yesterday for a photo shoot for portrait and newspaper article which appear elsewhere in the movie, and in discussion with the makeup department agreed that my current cut does not sell the period, so we agreed to shave my head completely. It works too, because any similarities between Tollington and a certain Aleister Crowley would not be at all inappropriate."
Yeah.
I think Doug Bradley would be good, especially now, to play Aleister Crowley in some kind of biopic.
Oh, that would be good.
Oh, I would love to see Doug Bradley play Aleister Crowley in a biopic.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. So, we got the poltergeists are active, apparently. Yeah, you know what they never explained, though? That even though Simon McNeil was faking some of this stuff, like the magnetic disturbances and stuff, that doesn't explain how the house would shiver.
Yeah. Well, right now that isn't fake anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And that dragonfly kind of flew over there to show her what's going on. And
yeah, that dragonfly kind of sets the crossing between, the normal world and the spirits that are acting up.
And that's not something from the short stories. That's original for this movie, the dragonfly thing.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I like that idea.
I do too.
I liked it too.
And they're CGI, right? I think
they look like CGI, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're good, but if we have to ask, I guess then they did a good job.
Yeah.
Simon, you all right?
I like the lighting on her face right here.
Yeah.
It's really.
Why don't you open the door and find out?
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of ghostly.
Yeah.
You're cracking up a little bit there, Ryan.
Oh.
I think you're good now.
Okay.
Okay, well, this was real, and I actually thought Jonas Armstrong did a good job, especially conveying certain scenes, how he's more scared when things actually start happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's trying to
mopey, though.
He's trying to explain here. Yeah, but this isn't like before. This is real, and they're not really listening to him. And then when they figure out he was a fraud, they're just like, "Oh, just get out of here."
Yeah.
Instead of listening to him about, I guess it's The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Yep, that's exactly it. I like it that they also included a script from different languages. Like, it seemed like there was some Arabic script over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even on his body, there's different language.
Mm-hmm. Don't mock us.
Yeah. And that's exactly the same as it was the other two times that it happened.
That's how you know it's real.
Yeah.
Yep.
You cut it.
Man, we got to get out of here.
I remember in the motion comic when he's getting the dead are writing on Simon McNeil's skin. They had something kind of cool. It's like they wrote the actual storage names on his skin.
Oh, of the Books of Blood stories?
Yeah, they put like Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be the idea behind that's why that story exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sometimes escapes a few people, especially if you just read the stories by themselves, or if you don't have if you don't have something that has like a set of the Books of Blood stories, if you have like the American version where they went for the first 3 volumes and then they kind of started bundling the other stories with something else like Cabal.
Yeah. Well, in the U.S., people think there's only 3 volumes. And then, and then volume 4 is The Inhuman Condition, and 5 is In the Flesh, and 6 is Cabal.
Yeah, which are also stories from the Books of Blood, but for some reason they marketed them differently.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't.
And the postscript on Jerusalem Street story isn't even present in some of the editions of the Books of Blood in the U.S.
Yeah, on that Cabal edition, it doesn't have it.
Right.
It becomes much more interesting when you consider that the stories of the Books of Blood are stories that were written on Simon McNeill.
Mm-hmm. And there are some versions of Books of Blood Volume 3 in the U.S. that have this, and some don't. And some collected books that have the first 3 volumes will have this one at the end. But nothing.
Am I the only one who's listening to Ryan coming in very distorted?
No, I don't hear Ryan. He sounds fine.
Well, and I'm recording, so it probably won't come out that way on the recording.
Okay. Because you both are coming a little distorted to me, but we'll just power through it. This scene is really weird because he's scared as hell, he's hurt, and she's just going to start making out with him.
Yeah, it's like, how about you take him to the doctor?
Yeah, good one. Good one.
I guess she wants to be a personal nurse.
Yeah. I think that those wounds, I mean, they don't look that big, but the pain on that would be, especially right there, would be really distracting. It's like, hey, stop doing that. That really
that hurts.
Yeah. Why are you doing that?
And then the thing is, it's always like in horror movies when there's sex, something bad's going to happen, and it's like the spirits become angry or something. I mean, I could understand that. I mean, they're being shown something that they can't have anymore. Maybe that's the reason why bad things happen when the people have sex in horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're being watched by the dead from the closet.
Yeah. And there's some foreshadowing because she, in the Tollington story, she said that a ghost hand went across his face to stop him from talking.
Yeah.
It would have been funny if it was Reg in the closet with his camera.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Why would they do this stuff when they know that Reg can see it all from his equipment downstairs?
He probably is watching.
Yeah.
Oh, the wall's cracking. The Cenobites are going to arrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Jack Polo was here, he would blame it on subsidence.
Yeah. It's all right. Don't worry about it. That's just the foundation in an old house like this. That's bound to happen.
You see what I mean? It's like the dragonfly landed on her face. Yeah. It's like it's the director telling us, okay, we're going to have ghosts now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess the dragonfly wasn't necessary in this moment. Like the hand over her mouth would tell us that there's spirits.
That's true.
Good special effects on that thing, though, really. Yeah, it seems like an invisible man really has his hand on her mouth.
Yeah. Sometimes you watch these things and you don't think about how hard it would be to pull that off.
I wonder if they just used a person put on a green glove.
Yeah.
To create that, or I don't know.
And later when she watches, there's a hand on her back pushing her forward. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. Good catch.
Oh, I didn't notice it at all either.
When she watches the video, she just kind of casually gets up and walks over to the window. I didn't really like that. I'd rather that stuff was really happening.
Oh, that's so awesome right there. It's like you don't even see the kids. You see the blood on the kids.
Yeah.
That is really creepy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the, you remember that movie with Kevin Bacon, like the It's not the Invisible Man. It's Transparent Man or something.
The Hollow Man.
The Hollow Man. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah, he was invisible, right?
Yeah, when he gets that blood thrown on him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're referring to, I think. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Footloose.
Oh gosh.
Okay, now I see what you're talking about, Jose, with the distortion and stuff. I see what you mean.
And this dissolve here, it's really cool that they dissolve into like recorded footage that they're watching on the computer. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand either. I kind of wish that they had just shown what actually happened.
Well, apparently that was what actually happened. Maybe the ghosts were just in her mind while she was sleeping.
Hmm.
There was something there.
I wonder if this statue is real or if it was from a set.
They definitely show it a lot.
Yeah.
It's real. Unless they moved it, took the real statue and moved it to this particular location, but it looks real.
So here's a story where, they expand this mythology or the backstory to include Mary Floresco did have the power to see ghosts as well.
I think it works. It's a nice addition.
I think it's sort of implied in the original story that she might have had something to do with opening the rift for the spirits as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely true that she was more important than Simon McNeil, or that she was the true psychic. She didn't realize it.
Yeah, in the story, even though she calls him her go-between, it's her desire and her pursuit that pushes the crack open, the crack between our world and the dead. Along with McNeil's fakery that kind of angers the ghosts.
Yeah.
It's a very creepy story, but there's no way that a 10-year-old could convince anyone that she was seeing a spirit and the police would listen to her.
So I think she was a visiting professor from England, right? And they're in Scotland, but she's a visiting professor from like London or something.
Was she visiting in the movie?
There was a comment there that she was talking to Reg, and he's like, "Oh, you're a visiting professor, and won't you try the food or something like that when they're in the tavern?"
Okay, gotcha.
That's something.
Nice try, Reg.
Yeah, I know. He's trying so hard to get, perfect.
Look, she's looking at Simon the whole time.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's saying, like, we're birds of a feather. Like, I know what you went through because I've felt the same at one point. Did you guys see that, wave?
Shimmer?
Yeah, I didn't see that last night when I watched this.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we're on her apartment now.
Yeah, so I guess they're taking a break.
In this story, and I mean in the original story from the Books of Blood, Florescu believes McNeil because she's infatuated with him. Like, she spends a lot of time in her inner monologue talking about how cute he is, how hot he is.
Yeah.
That he's a 20-something year old that's, really charming and stuff. So she believes him because she's infatuated with him. But in this movie, it seems like she gets infatuated with Simon McNeil because she believes him.
Well,
she believes that he is, the real deal.
She sort of gets infatuated with him the first time he steps into the classroom, too.
Sure. It's like, hi, it's me. I don't like umbrellas. My brother was killed by an umbrella. See, so in his backstory, they say that he had it but lost it.
Yeah.
So he's not entirely a fraud.
He just
in the original story, he never had any powers to begin with.
So he's a little more sympathetic here because here he just wants people to acknowledge him and give him that same kind of attention that he used to have. Because he was a sort of a mini celebrity when he had this psychic vision, and now he can't have them anymore. But he really wants it back. I think that's in
tune with the actual original character. He does that because he wants attention as well. He wants people to believe that he actually can talk to the dead. But in the movie, they make him more sympathetic because,
You gotta have, some kind of... Can't make him like a complete asshole.
Yeah.
Like, the motion comment made him a complete asshole.
Yeah, it did.
Doesn't he have like a mustache?
He looks really.
Yeah.
I don't know, very kind of
shifty
guy that you wouldn't trust.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is this you? Mary Rescue. Yeah, that's. What do you find her?
I'm sure that she just happened to walk by there. She just wanted to show off.
They must have been stalking her.
Real fans carry bags full of books. And they go like, hey, hi, Clive, can you sign these 13 books for me?
Yep. I brought a duffel bag so big one time that the people behind me got angry.
What's some of the you've been to all these signings with Clive? What was one of the most? What was your most one you enjoyed the most, Brian?
Probably the one for The Thief of Always, because he read the whole first chapter to a group of us that bought tickets.
Oh, cool.
And so he read that, The Thief of Always, and then there was a Q&A. That was really cool. And that was the first one where I was prepared, because my very first one was for Magica, and I had only just discovered Clive Barker, so all I had was a couple of paperbacks.
Oh, I see.
And they were ones that I bought right there on the spot.
What I think is funny is that Mary Florescu totally disappears here, and she was right there like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Did she just take off running?
Was she the Flash?
By the way, that clock tower there is from Edinburgh. That clock tower that you see in the landscape is the Balmoral Hotel.
Oh, okay. So I was wondering if we were supposed to believe this was in London, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know my English geography.
There's the big confrontation. Well, you've been the one playing games. Poof. Yeah, but they still don't explain how they burst into flame without anybody touching them, right?
Yeah, they were on a timer somehow.
Could be.
But it seems like an awful lot for him to be able to pull off.
It seems like a rather naive thing for him to use that, because he must have known that they would analyze it at some point. So
yeah,
at least Simon McNeil in the story only uses that small lead that he hides in his tongue.
Yeah.
He doesn't use any chemicals to paint the walls or anything.
Yeah.
What I don't know is how did he find out about the fountain thing when she was a girl? He just says, I do my homework, but that doesn't explain how he knew that happened to her when she was 10.
I didn't realize when I watched this last night, he just admitted that he slashed the tire on her car.
I think so, yeah.
That's crazy. He's nuts.
I know.
Yeah. I thought he was seeing something that, like a premonition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie had some problems after it was done. You were asking me about Midnight Meat Train and Lionsgate, and here's something that the director said in March of 2009 at Fangoria. He said, well, I'll be honest about it. It's done, but it's struggling. It turned out well, and I'm very happy with it, but my timing was impeccable as I finished it just when the stock market crashed. Right now, we're looking at a possible network TV deal with a DVD sale to follow, which is fine, as that's where the film would play most successfully anyway. I was actually hoping for a limited theatrical release first, like we had with Diary of the Dead, but it's been tough. At this stage, the financial people are driving the train, and they don't have the luxury to hold out for a better deal, or they'll be out millions.
Well, it's also interesting that in the 80s and 90s, like a direct-to-video movie meant that it was terrible. And it's not really that way anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons why a movie doesn't get a theatrical release, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with how good it is.
Sure. I mean, automatically, when it's horror movie, automatically it's a smaller market immediately. I mean,
yeah. But at the same
Right
time,
now,
studios like horror movies because they're cheap to make and you can make a lot of money.
yeah, like movies like James Wan movies from Blumhouse Productions or something like that. Like now there's one, it's called Lights Out. Have you guys seen the trailer for that yet?
No.
Okay. You guys remember there was a YouTube video where someone was turning off the lights in their house and then a shape would appear in the hallway and then they turn on the lights and the shape.
I did see a preview for this.
So basically this movie is that story but turned into a full feature film. It's like whenever you turn the lights off, the ghost of this scary lady appears. And when you turn it on, she disappears. So you have to stay in the light. Otherwise, she'll just grab your leg and pull you.
Oh.
And it's just horrible. I call it,
Sounds
it's
like
cattle
that
prod
movie,
cinema.
Darkness Falls.
Oh, here's Tollington.
Yeah.
So do you think that's really Doug Bradley's voice?
Maybe.
Probably just distorted.
Yeah.
Definitely.
See,
I
he
don't
looks like
understand
Aleister
why the
Crowley
spirit
there.
would hurt him, though, because it seems like he was the real deal. He was really like a guy who was into the spirit world.
Was he? Or maybe he was a fraud. That seems pretty harsh what they did to her, too. I mean, it seems a little out of proportion to... You'd think they could just roll their eyes at her and go, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to take one of his aspirins.
Shit, she starts to throw up.
Yeah.
She was having his aspirin, but it turns out that's not really aspirin.
Yeah, I know. It's reveals another one of his tricks.
Gross.
Yeah, puking is... I hate seeing puking movies.
So why does that make her throw up?
Because there was gunpowder inside the aspirin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would swallow those on... Or did he swallow them? I guess he didn't swallow them. He just had them in the bottle.
He would swallow them, and then he would regurgitate them in order to riot in the walls.
Right. So, but if the capsules open up in her stomach and make her throw up, then he couldn't regurgitate them the way they are.
Well, he would take them a short time before, and then he would regurgitate them before they were digested. At least that's, what I think he did.
Yeah.
And here's the explanation for the magnetic disturbance as well.
He's got a...
Took me a while to get help on
It's a little bit of fakery here because I don't think that there is such a device like that. But for the sake of the movie,
Yeah.
Sure.
You must have paid him to put it there. God knows what other tricks he's got hidden.
I like the scenes in movies where they put the pieces together. I think those are always good scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Sherlock Holmes moment.
Really wanted it to be true.
There was actually a Book of Blood production journal by Joe Daly,
Right, what?
the producer of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys know about that?
No, I didn't.
It's on Revelations. It's a Revelations exclusive. I guess this is another one for the show notes.
Yeah, definitely put that up there.
It's pretty long. He has a few entries here throughout 2007 and 2008. That is fantastic. I'm going to have to read this afterwards.
Were y'all doing the podcast when this movie came out?
No.
Okay.
No, we started planning in like 2011, and then our first episode was January 2012.
Okay.
Get the fuck out of here. You.
And then we started with the Books of Blood episodes.
Yeah, basically the first new movie for us was Hellraiser Revelations. Yeah.
I'd like to remind the listeners also that Simon Bamford was on the podcast on episode number 6, where he also talks about this movie, the Book of Blood.
I told you I had a gift, but it was taken away. I've got it back now. I've got it back, and I'm not going to let it get taken away.
That part when she called him a sweet little liar, that's actually lifted from the original story. I don't really understand what he thought he was going to do here, because they were just packing everything. They were getting ready to leave the house. So I guess he was trying to summon the spirits to come again.
Yeah.
Just to show them. Yeah.
So what is that? All he does is just lay down in the bed, right? And then the ghosts just sort of take over.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do anything particularly fraudulent this time around to make them angry. I guess
he was just trying to focus his powers that he had lost.
Yeah. Well,
she's the one that kind of brings him forth this time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm wondering what it is that this time that makes them so mad that they start carving him up and...
Well, we'll see that actually who's calling them is Mary and not Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we call the cops. It's a burgle.
Oh, yeah, so I guess he's just trying to...
Meditate.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where the girl who had her face ripped off, she's going to appear near the end of the movie again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that in my notes. I saw that. It's
Oh, there's the dragonfly again. That's a classic moment when something works, but all of a sudden you realize that it's not plugged into the electrical outlet.
Yeah.
Just like the TV in Hellraiser 3.
Hellraiser 3, yeah.
Yeah.
That fake news
It's like-
report.
He's saying
Right.
the truth, Joey. And then, or when they're doing the report from the massacre at the boiler room, and
Yeah.
then they show that behind the TV is not even plugged in.
Yeah, it's not even plugged in. That's
Yeah, I don't like that in that because it's kind of like when Pinhead orchestrated a whole fake news story, or I guess Elliot
Yeah.
Spencer did.
I guess
it's-
the Cenobites were introducing that, beaming that straight into Joey's TV.
Yeah, live from Hellraiser Television.
'cause as soon as she leaves it was weird how as soon as she left her apartment, the report ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of perfect.
Time to get his PEK meter. What was the name of that thing the Ghostbusters used?
Yeah, I think
forgot.
that's right. PKE meter.
Yeah.
Psychokinetic energy.
Someone should artificially, digitally put in Slimer in the ghost there.
Yeah.
I didn't bother to see the new Ghostbusters.
I don't think it's out yet, but I'm not going
Oh.
to yet.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
I don't know. I don't get to see.
What did you say? You never saw Ghostbusters?
No, the new one. I didn't go to see.
Oh, okay. Is it out yet?
No, it's not out yet.
Okay.
It's yeah.
I get to see like 2 movies a year now.
Intersection.
Yeah, I guess. When you have kids, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I love this whole dragonfly mask thing going on here.
Highways that lead to intersections.
Does he sing the Dragonflies? Reg?
I would think so. That's a good question. I guess we won't know for sure.
I really like the ghosts in this. They're
Yeah.
really, really scary.
I really like when the world opens up and you see the highway going through the house.
Okay.
Mhm.
That is super cool.
Kind of the way I imagined it when reading it.
Yeah.
When I first read them.
I wonder if the dead have to. I wonder if they have to wait when they have to turn right on red, or if they can go.
Yeah.
That was one thing in America that I found hard to get used to. It's turning right on red, because in Portugal, when it's red, you can't go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a practical thing.
Yeah.
Because if nobody's coming, I mean, you should be able to go.
Yeah, if you do it right, it's pretty safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you think that those marks that they're doing in his skin also remind you a little bit of the marks from the box?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Simon Says came up with.
Also, I mean, I guess it's a problem with the original story, but how do you get an entire story out of the marks that you see on his skin? Because, I mean, really, the people just write a few huge letters, and it's like, that's not a whole story.
I always figured that, and this is my interpretation, of course, but I always figured that his skin would, like, heal and scar over, and then they would start again.
So, like, it would be just one story at a time?
It seems like that's what they're showing in this movie, like that they're always writing, and he's always healing his skin, but they're always writing more stuff on him.
In the original story, I imagined it was just really tiny writing.
Actually, I think in the story, doesn't he heal too? He talks about it at the end.
Yeah, some of it is really, really small.
I like that ghost crawling down the wall. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is the big payoff of the movie right here. Is that like a French Napoleonic soldier?
Yeah.
Wow.
Reg, you gotta pay more attention to your surroundings.
His death in the original story is much more cataclysmic.
Yeah. He just dies of fright, right? He just falls over and he's dead.
Yeah, here he just gets scared and walks backward and falls. But in the original story, it's like the whole vision of it is too much for him, and there's like this blast of energy that kind of kills him.
Because I think he sees the dead world.
Yeah.
So she's writing really small.
I was kind of hoping they would. I was kind of hoping they would put in like characters from the story, and like maybe you would see like mahogany or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
You know.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see it tied together a little bit more.
They did a really good job with the makeup for the ghosts.
Yeah.
You can imagine that this is the kid from The Sixth Sense grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the little, Asian kabuki.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
I didn't notice her before.
It's invading. There's someone to listen.
Yeah, here's the part from the original story when she opens the door. It says,
There's someone to hear this.
she had reached the door now, her trembling hands stretched to touch the solid reality of the handle. But even with all the concentration she could muster, it would not come clear. There was barely a ghost image for her to focus on, though it was sufficient. She grasped the handle, turned it, and flung the door of the writing room open. It was here, in front of her. No more than 2 or 3 yards of possessed air separated them.
And I will tell your stories
Pretty
to
cool.
the world.
Really awesome. On the middle landing of number 65, the smoking, blistered body of Reg Fuller was casually trodden by the travelers' feet as they passed over the intersection. At length, Fuller's own soul came by in the throng and glanced down at the flesh she had once occupied before the crowd pressed him on towards his judgment. So it seems like these guys are going towards a judgment of some sort.
Yeah, and Reg is going to walk by his own body here in a second.
Yeah.
He's just looks down. He's just kind of a little sad, but
Well, the short story kind of makes it ends with that the living are really the ones that are cursed. The dead are really kind of free.
And here it's like, so Mary Florescu became rich almost overnight from publishing books with the stories from these people.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case, but it doesn't really.
yeah, they don't say how much time has gone by or how long he's been like.
Because that is a giant mansion right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, and she just had an apartment, a little while ago.
That's a
Like
great
that.
makeup job.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how long it must have taken for them to glue that on him. Yeah, she bought that estate with all the money that she made out of her books. I wondered, how good were those stories? I mean, I guess if you read the books of Blood, they're pretty good stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's kind of a leap between Mary Floresco and the other scene and this one. That's kind of hard to understand. Like, she became almost, she became like a villainess of sorts.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't care about him anymore. She doesn't even, all the care that she had for him is gone. And she's just using him at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's more connected to the dead people that are scratching on him than to him.
Yeah. But in the other scene, she was still like caring for him. She still wanted, she still wanted to help him get the dead people off of him. But here it's like all of a sudden she's like, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and
Yeah,
I'm just going to use this guy to become rich.
There should have been some kind of scenes showing like how she turned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to say, she does play an excellent part here. She's a very striking character. There's a digital shadow in front of his crotch.
Mm. So there's supposed to be cameras taking pictures at every angle, but we didn't really even see one camera.
Back to Wyburn's shack.
Yeah.
You kind of make out like tiny handwriting in his face, but I think it's more like an impression than actual words.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to read one single word.
I can read on his forehead. There's a word, listen.
Yeah, that's true. And then on his arm it says...
It says dirty something? Dirty?
And there's...
Dirty scum? Dirty
Yeah.
scum, what it says.
And there's Japanese on his chest there.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
kinds.
most of it seems just like random scratches, though.
Yeah.
Which I wish there were more recognizable words.
Yeah, that would have been kind of neat for the fans, to...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, at least he knows what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm a sociopath. I don't feel anything.
Yeah, if he's going to make it quick, why didn't he just put a gun to his head instead of cutting his throat? I don't know, that's just awful.
Skin had to be intact.
Yeah, well...
Although he does cut his throat here, but then when she unfolds the skin, the throat is not cut. That's a goof that they did.
Yeah, that's the one goof that they put on IMDb.
I kind of wish they would have not shown it in an explicit way, but kind of shown the flying.
Mm,
Maybe through like dissolves and like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thought it would have been kind of interesting.
So Ryan, I think you were asking at some point, how did Maria Florescu found out his skin? I think she was the client.
Do you think she's the collector?
Yeah.
Do you think she got tired? He ran away, and she just hired this guy to track him down and get it back.
Yeah.
But why?
That's what I thought.
But then it seems a little unnecessary to kill him. It would be really easy to just drag him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he can always run away again.
Well, maybe. I mean, he doesn't seem too capable of much of anything.
Yeah.
She could just have a bodyguard that makes sure he doesn't run away. And she doesn't know that they're going to keep riding on his skin after he's dead.
She might expect it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in the original story, I think that the dead kill Wyburd because he's like, in a sense, cheating them out of their book of blood, right? He's taking the skin in the original story for a private collector who would arguably remove that piece from the world. Collecting is it's kind of a selfish thing sometimes. I always want to share my collection with the world and other collectors, but some people, they derive some sort of pleasure from being the sole owners of something that's unique. By having the exclusive privilege of owning something special, they feel like it makes their own lives more special.
So Clive Russell, I saw a note. Clive Russell nearly choked on the blood water in its final scene.
Oh.
Yeah. Doing scenes like that are dangerous.
It seems like there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that you have to do in this scene because it seems like it would be pretty easy to get out of there.
Also, the shack seems to have a lot of openings. In the walls.
Exactly.
But let's just say that the dead were preventing him from opening anything
or breaking the window.
Or breaking the very flimsy looking window,
Yeah. Come on, you can try. He's got all the power of Reg trying to get the door open.
But I have to say, this is a very good adaptation of the second story. I think that this is really well done. And also, the blood looks like blood. It doesn't. It actually foams up like blood. It's not just red water.
Exactly.
And it's better than Rawhead Rex and better than Dread.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's a nice shot.
And one last stare.
Yeah. You should have used that to punch through the window.
Yeah. Well, it's not really blood that kills him, right? I mean, it's more like Maria Florescu being taken to the window and being shown the fountain.
It's all kind of in his mind somehow.
Yeah.
Right.
But, in the story, it really was. Yeah, she's sort of like a Wicked Witch of the West or something, or she looks like a Disney villainess.
It's Princess Mombi.
Yeah, that's really kind of what she looks like.
Her outfit is a little weird too. It seems like her outfit is very like a Victorian kind of aesthetic to it.
Yeah, with that gigantic hood.
It looks like they went into a warehouse where they had a lot of like different outfits, and they were like, all right, let's find something cool here.
So where is Simon's skinned body? That should be in there somewhere, right? Is that it over there behind her?
Wyvern ate him for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe he threw him.
It kind of does look like a body's behind her.
Yeah. Maybe he threw him away.
Yeah. I guess that is sort of a goof.
I guess you could argue, who's she talking to now? Maybe the dead. Yeah. I love this effect here. That's really cool.
Yeah. Almost sounds like Nightbreed music there, too.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Yeah. Oh, there's the girl who got her face ripped off.
Why didn't she get to keep her face?
Yeah.
It's like, can I have my face back now? I'm dead. What do you guys care if I have my face?
Really, he should be a skin body.
Yeah, if she doesn't have a face.
That's right. Or he should have some scars on his face as well.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly care for the ending. I don't think it kind of made it it was kind of like a happy ending in a way.
You know, those poor like World War I soldiers, they've been walking for like 70 years now.
Yeah.
Wherever they're going.
It's a movie that I really like.
So excellent.
Yeah. Clive Barker was just in the credits twice, so that's good.
And there's Anthony de Blasi, another executive producer.
Yeah. Well, it was still good anyway.
Yep, so that was Clive Barker's Book of Blood, another of our commentaries that was part of the Kickstarter 3 Hell on Earth. Except this one was pretty cool to watch with you guys. I really had a fun time.
Yeah, our next one is going to be, the next one we do will be Hellraiser, so there's not going to be a whole lot of, making fun, but we've kind of gotten through all the movies that we don't like, and we're, been into the good movies for a little bit now.
I don't even have to watch that movie again because I know it by heart.
I know. Yeah. I may not watch it to prepare because same reason.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hope this was fun for you guys out there listening to this, and make sure you listen to our other commentary tracks, which some of them are pretty funny, especially the ones from the beginning where you have like Rawhead Rex and Transmutations. We made a lot of jokes for those, so go check them out.
Yeah.
I think Revelations was probably the funniest.
Oh, that one too, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We may have watched that movie for the last time.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Me too.
I'm not watching it again, that's for sure.
I can't think of another reason why we would need to see that movie.
Hey, are we going to do Nightbreed?
Yeah. We're doing Hellraiser, then Nightbreed, then Lord of Illusions, and then Hellraiser 2 and Hellraiser 3. And
we're in for some good treats.
And then I think the very last one is Midnight Meat Train.
Okay, quick question. We're going to do the director's cut of Nightbreed, right?
Yes.
Yes. For all intents and purposes, that is the version of choice now.
Yeah.
There was one movie we should have added to the commentary. I forgot.
I think we also are doing Candyman and Candyman 2.
We forgot to add Gods and Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
But that,
that's kind of a weird one because Clive is a producer, but it's not an adaptation of anything that he wrote.
Yeah, that's true.
But then we did The Plague. I guess The Plague is kind of the same deal.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the extras casting, and one of the companies that provided extras for this movie was Amputees in Action.
Oh, okay.
Must have been some of the ghosts or something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. So, are we? Oh, look at this! Foley recorded at Pinewood Studios. Cool.
Oh yeah. Just gotta sit through the credits.
Yeah, Guy Farley. I really like the soundtrack, but it is kind of sad and a little depressing, which I guess is the tone.
It's kind of sad,
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with the dead.
Yeah, the characters are all kind of sad in their own way. Even Wybird is sad. I wonder if movie studios aren't interested in a movie like this because there's not going to be a sequel. They want like a big franchise.
Well, the thing is, Books of Blood could just be a start off to a sequel because there's stories afterward.
Well, and I think they talked about it like that too, that they were hoping to kind of make.
Because you could watch Midnight Meat Train after this,
right? Yeah, and then like Pig Blood Blues, never happened, and.
All right, and if you want to know more about parapsychology, go to the Essex University and join the Kessler Parapsychology Unit.
Yeah.
There you go.
One quick thing before we go, I wanted to mention, head over to duelsofblood.com and vote, because we have, as we're recording this, there are only a couple of more days left in round 3, and then we'll go on to round 4.
Yeah. So go and vote on your favorite characters and make sure that it wins. You can vote every 5 minutes.
And Female Cenobite and
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, and the Butterball are like 1 vote apart.
Yeah, man.
And they've been equal like for a lot of it. So I think people just really like Barbie and Simon.
It's been a surprising dose of blood, I will admit. Some of them have ended, but
yeah, and Pinhead lost early.
Been a lot of big upsets.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was good talking to you guys.
Yeah. Good talking to you guys too.
All right. Thanks again for joining us. And that was great watching this movie with you guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Bye-bye.
You can find the show notes for this page and lots of Clive Barker's news and features at www.clivebarkercast.com. Please follow us on Twitter, @BarkerCast or @OccupyMidian. Like us on Facebook and join the Occupy Midian Facebook group. You can listen on the site or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, Google Play, and DoubleTwist. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Please take a couple of minutes and leave us a review on iTunes. It means the world to us and helps us spread the word about Clive Barker. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that's not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This is a labor of love by the fans, for the fans.
Thanks for listening.